And I admire your courage, man. I was thinking about a few days ago, and I'm like, can I really come online to say some of all these things? And for those that are wondering what we're talking about, Dr. Elizabeth shared a story about divorce and what led to it. And like I said, I admire your courage, because I'm like, it shows that you can undo a lot of social criticism, like social media criticism, because but that, well done that.
I think for me it was a mix of many things. It did take a while for me to get to that point.
You're looking young, actually. Like,
I'm looking younger.
To be honest, you are. Good to see you.
Thank you.
By the way, this is a doctor of like double doctor, if there's anything like that. Medical doctor.
No, I'm not a medical doctor.
Academic doctor.
No, I'm not a medical doctor.
Okay, I was mistaken that for being a pharmacist.
Yes, I'm not a pharmacist. And then I have a PhD.
That's nice. But given the number of years you spent doing pharmacy, you qualify for a doctor as well.
No.
Is that more similar, isn't it?
Yeah, they are separate things. Separate professions. So yeah.
I like the respect for the professions. But it's good to have you here once again. And by the way, this is a woman that I believe is hot in career, as you can tell from what I've said, spiritually, because from the things I've experienced in the past few months, this is a firebrand in front of me, and hot in every other sense, as you can see the person I'm speaking with right now. So I believe she's bringing a lot of resources and a lot of insights into this conversation. And it's good to have you here once again, Dr. Elizabeth Ibiloye. Yeah. So do you want to just give us describe yourself in 3 words from your own perspective? I've given it from my own angle, like what we say about yourself if you're going to describe yourself.
In 3 words?
Yeah.
I mean, there are various ways I could describe myself, but 3 words, I think I would say one is courageous, very audacious person. I think another one is resilient. I'm very, very resilient. And I think a third one is just, let me see, I'm trying to pick out of so many options.
Yeah.
But I think third one would be...
you gave me a third one, courageous, audacious, or is that
yeah, I was thinking of courageous and audacious as, I think of
resilient,
and then resilient. And then I think the third one really would be someone who is just future focused, very visionary, problem solving. And so, someone who has that type of mindset. All right,
great. I mean, we'll get to see more of that as we speak. By the way, I just try to make it a little bit. I know I'm speaking with an academic, somebody who is very familiar with very professional settings, but if you don't mind, I'll make it a little bit lighthearted, just so that we can pass the message better. Today we're just talking about expectations in marriage and the likes. I've spoken to previous people, and one of the things that led to this podcast conversation was I just did a test run with a lady a few months ago. That was in April thereabout, and we're talking about a lot of dynamics in marriage today. Women are evolving and how it's changing dynamics of marriage and all that. And we also, in subsequent episodes, we talked about how a lot of women say grew up, Nigerian women to be specific, grew up in households where they were already prepared for marriage, one way or the other. You hear them say stuff like, is this what you do in your husband's house and all of that, so I just wanted you to say from your perspective, would you say you had a kind of experience growing up? Would you say you had a background that kind of put the marriage consciousness in you? What would you say about that?
So I think generally, just even beyond just my family, just culturally, environmentally,
right,
it was there, right? Where it's especially as a girl child growing up, there's always this. A lot of things are tied to marriage. Is this how you be sleeping when you get married? Is this how you be doing when you get married? You can't do that when you get married. A lot of things were it wasn't really just about marriage. It was also being raised to make yourself in a manner that is acceptable to men, right? In the sense of, how you sit, how you dress, how you do. So that language or that, just that thing was all around. And so it did filter right into my family setting where there were some comments like that. But I think generally it wasn't to an overwhelming degree that a lot of people might have experienced. So for example, my parents were very avid like supporters of education. You know, my dad would always tell us like, you can do anything, right? You can be whatever it is. Or aim for the peak. Like, you're not limited. Like there was always that message that your gender doesn't limit you, right? But of course there was still that overlay of religion, overlay of culture that was still playing in the background. So it was there, but not to I would say not to a crazy or extreme situation that you might see in some places.
Right. Yeah, I get that. But would you say, you said it was not extreme, and I get that, but would you say it had any form of negative impact? Would you say it was different, was some things were unnecessary when it comes to, or do you think it's actually fine that women are prepared that way? And do you think maybe men need to also get that kind of mental preparation at a young age as well?
Okay. So I think what you're asking now is just, generally, right? Not within just like my
family. Generally speaking.
Yes. I think definitely it's a skewed way of raising kids, whereby it's like the girl child is raised to think that all of who she is ends in marriage, like it's just for the purpose of marriage. And while the male child is not necessarily having that rhetoric or that story being played into their minds as kids. And so in the same setting, you have girls being raised to be wives, but boys not being raised to be husbands. Boys being raised to be boys. Boys being raised to be whoever it is they want to be. And so they are seeing...
I forgot to come my shield though, but guide.
What did you say?
I forgot to come my shield. I just realized.
You forgot to come with your shield. I'm not interested. No, I'm not. There is no train of arrows or bullets. But it's a definite thing that, at least in the setting or in the time when I was growing up, I think even our parents, I don't know, what it looks like right now in that Nigerian landscape for parents, but I think there's been a lot of shift. But at least I can say that as a child, what it has done is it has created that gap whereby you have seen girls, right, being raised and being told, this is what it is. There's been this raising and this preparation for responsibility in marriage, right, over time. Why the boy has not been prepared or taught in that manner, right? And so you have people, then you now wonder why there is so much dissonance in what you're now seeing today, where it's like, the man has not even been raised in terms of that responsibility of what it means to be a husband.
Right.
We see many women or many men who they have been taught they want to have a wife, right? But they are not necessarily looking to be husbands. They want to have a wife, meaning they want to have someone who cooks for them, cleans for them, takes care of them, what they had seen growing up, right? The way they had seen that their sisters were the ones who were the ones doing the domestic duties while they were just sitting and doing nothing, right? And then it's like, but the role of a husband, which is literally a servant leadership, right? That was not modeled, or that expectation was not put on them. And so they get into marriage and it's like one person has been raised to, this is what it is, and the other person doesn't have that sort of training. Right. So there's definitely a gap. There's definitely a gap there. And
I know you're a mom of a young, handsome young man.
Yeah.
And so what would you say you're doing like differently? What would you say parents should do differently with their boys today? Do you get what I mean? Yeah.
I get what you're saying, and I think first of all, that narrative around the idea that the skills you're learning, the training you're receiving, all of these things, tying it to the idea of when you marry, it is that you're doing. If you don't do this, you'll not get someone to marry you. All of that, right? I think that narrative needs to change. But beyond that, I think that for every child, irrespective of the gender, there are certain things that are life skills that everyone needs to be taught. So my son, for example, he's not like, again, he's an only child, right? So he doesn't even have a sister, right, at this time. So he knows that, like, no one is going to pack your dishes, after you. It's your duty. It's your duty to do that, right? It's your duty to clean up after yourself. It's your duty. It's your duty. He started learning how to cook. Like, he's been with me in the kitchen and all of that. There isn't even, for him now, there isn't even any sort of model for him with an idea that only women should be the one in the kitchen, right? That has not even crossed his mind. That has not even been anything that has come up
right.
In his orientation, in the way that I'm raising him. So the idea that some things are just for some people, or some things that definitely is something that
gender roles.
Everyone should be taught life skills. Like everyone, should be taught.
Right. I never saw it as life skills growing up. I just saw it as, to be honest, I saw it as this is what women are supposed to learn how to do.
Yeah, because
that's gonna be very
taught, right? That's how it was taught. But I mean, it's a life skill to know how to cook. I mean, you need to eat to take.
Obviously.
So it's a life skill, right? It's part of living, to be able to clean up for after yourself. Like, it's
right.
Yeah. So it's a skill that is necessary for life. So
yeah, based on what you said, I feel from a very young age, I feel like at a younger age, we should all be taught these life skills, like you said, and also these gender roles start from that age. So there's some things that are not supposed to be categorized as gender roles, and it starts from childhood, infancy. So parents, I believe, should improve on that. Yeah, I don't have much to say on that. I don't have a child yet, so but I just feel like, from my own experience, there should be changes, and I feel like a lot of modern parents, they are doing differently. Like, parents, they are doing better than the way they've learned a lot from the older generation, I'd say. Yeah, let's not waste so much time on that. But I know recently you shared something online that was about, is it this year or last year? Was it? Sorry.
What are you referring to?
I'm referring to you publicly shared an account of your,
that was last year,
marriage experience.
Okay. My story, yes, that was last year.
Marriage story, yes, that was last year. Okay, yeah, and I mean, I was keen. I watched it. I followed it through. I believe that it was there's a lot for a lot of people to learn, and I used to believe that the best insights about marriage is gotten from people who have been where you have been, because a lot of people that are in marriages, they find it hard to share a lot of things going on, because a lot of people who are married find it hard to share too much details about the dynamics of their marriage, or dynamics of marriage generally, just because they're trying to protect the image, which is okay. But I believe that people, from your experience, there's a lot of insight that can be shared, and I learned a lot from that, from what you shared the other day, and I believe that a lot of people can learn from it as well. There's a lot of truth. You presented it bare without having to sugarcoat anything. You get what I mean? That's should I be specific about it?
I don't know where you're going right now.
Okay, I'm referring to your marriage experience, marriage story you shared about your marriage coming to an end and all of that. Right. And so, like I said, I believe people who have gone through experience tend to share the most honest review about marriage, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like you're good for this conversation. So, just to dive right into it, I just want to know, how did society, say family, church, treat you after you became a single mom?
Okay, that's an interesting one. I think for me, one of the things that, even though I was raised within the Nigerian setting, I think because my experience, right, by the time my marriage was ending, I wasn't within the Nigerian setting, right? I was in a different country.
Right.
I think that might have shaped the societal what's the word, backlash or the societal experience in terms of the stigma I know people tend to walk through, and shame people tend to walk through societally on that, societal level. And when we say societal level, we're talking of things like, for example, people losing their friends, right? People who they were in a certain like social class or social status, and suddenly people withdrawing from them. We're talking things like church, right? Being in church. I know that big one with a lot of women that I've spoken with, being in church, and there's just this place where suddenly there is a withdrawing, or there are, there is back talks and all of those things going on. So I think on that, my experience was very different, again, because I'm in a very different society. Now, but that did not still stop the experiences of, say, for example, the people who knew me personally, or the people who did not even know me personally, but knew about the marriage personally, and, all the opinions that were being shared, and the things that were being said, and the things that were being done. Like, those things still filtered to me, and they caused, along the way, certain things caused, pain, caused hurt, and all of that. But I do think that because of the setting that I was in, I was largely, right, shielded from that practice, or that very
criticism. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I got the criticism, right? And that's where I'm going. I got the criticism, like, from various people. I got the ones who insulted me, the ones who made fun of me, the ones who wrote about me on social media. I got all of that. But I think they were not a part of my day-to-day life. They were not a part of my day-to-day community. I could detach. Right? I had the room to detach. And so the people that really, really mattered, which literally was like my own family, right? My parents, my siblings, they were also there as a buffer, even though physically they were not, like, emotionally, mentally, they were there. But have I experienced situations where even, online, sometimes people say certain things, but generally, I think, and also, I think that the way you as a person, the way you think about what you've gone through, and the way and the stories you tell yourself, the belief you have about your experience also shapes the way you respond to whatever it is people are trying to say or people are trying to do. For me, it was a story of courage. So you could not take that away from me. It was a story of deliverance and intervention, and it was a story of, all of that. So it didn't matter when the few people who were trying to call and say whatever it is they wanted to say, I'm like, no, you were not there. So it was easier for me to just be like, we're not doing that. But yeah, I think.
And I admire your courage, man. I was thinking about it a few days ago, and I'm like, can I really come online to say some of all these things? And for those that are wondering what we're talking about, Dr. Elizabeth shared a story about divorce and what led to it. I believe the story is online somewhere. Yes, I'll just put the link in the description to this video. Okay, I'll just put the link to the video in the description of this video for those that want to watch it. And like I said, I admire your courage, because I'm like, it's, man, you it shows that you can undo a lot of social criticism, like social media criticism, because but that, well done that.
Yeah, it was, I think for me, it was a mix of many things. It did take a while for me to get to that point, and I would say it wasn't a decision I took lightly. It wasn't a decision I took because I just wanted to talk. If anything, literally, I would say it was a decision that I took because I knew God was very clear, like, I want you to share this, not for you, but because of the people who will hear, who will be healed, and who will have hope again. And I mean, people see that, they see the courage and all of that. But the backstory to that is it took me literally from the moment I started to get that nudging and instruction that it was time to share. It took me almost a year, actually, to then get to that point where I was like, okay. And it took a series of multiples of me sitting with God and confirming various things, right, that led to that. So it wasn't a light decision. It wasn't a decision of just, if anything, I remember telling God, I was like, when everything was actually going on, where is when people would tend to, come online and talk and try to defend themselves. You didn't allow me say anything. And now I'm in a place where I'm doing much better. I'm healed. Why now? And he's like, that's exactly why it's time to talk. And because now it's not the story of a victim, it's the story of a victor. And that's what can actually give people hope. Like they can see, okay, if all of this could happen, right? And this person can make it to the other side, then there is hope for me. And that has literally been the thread when all the people who have reached out to me after that, I've gotten a lot of clarity. I've gotten a lot of hope. I thought everything had ended for me. I thought there was no more future. Like that's literally been the thread of what has come back as feedback, from that. Of course, I've gotten people who have insulted me because of that too. So
interesting. I mean, it's not impossible because that's interesting though. I want to believe there are a lot of people that have also watched the video and been inspired by it. Say people who have been in your shoes and have not been able to express themselves or come out to speak up. I'm sure they would have drawn a lot of strength from your message. But let's just take it a bit backwards. Let's even speak to. There's a lot of hype on weddings than on marriage. There's a lot of hype on, especially when you see a lot of celebrities post their weddings online. The recent ones. It makes a lot of I don't want to be particular about women, but I feel like I've observed it more women focus more on the wedding day than on preparing for the marriage. And I just wanted to just give some insight into this. Like what would you say that would you say African weddings generally is it like a big distraction to preparing for the actual marriage?
That's interesting. I don't think the wedding itself, like the wedding ceremony itself, is I'm trying not to go all science or all academic here in terms of thinking
do what you can do.
In terms of thinking of causality, right? You have predicted factors.
Right. No, go ahead, please give us that.
I don't think that the because when you say African weddings, I think you're talking about, all that big ceremony and all of that.
Yeah.
And the focus on, that party. And I don't think that in itself is the distraction from the marriage. Because, and why do I say that? You see that for people who, for people who maybe their marriage has ended up in a divorce, it has happened whether or not they had big marriages, big weddings, whether or not they had weddings in the living room, whether or not all they did was go to the court, whether or not all they did was just have like the traditional wedding where some people just came to, their parents' houses, right? So I'm saying that means that the ceremony in itself is not just the factor. The reason why I think that it is loud with those weddings, like when the weddings are loud, right? And people know. So when the breakup happens, right? It's real. Like,
it's obvious as well.
Obvious, right?
Yeah.
Compared to those ones that are not as loud. But again, it can happen irrespective of what type of wedding ceremony you do. So that is a reality. Now, does the fact that people focus on what's the wedding rather than thinking of the marriage itself,
right,
thinking in depth in terms of preparing for the marriage, is that real? Yes, it is. And I think that again it's also a combination of, just various factors. I can speak to my own situation where, for example, I would say a lot of it was ignorance. A lot of it was not getting the right, picture into what to assess in terms of when you're thinking of the partner, the person you choose to marry. I had a session earlier this morning. I'm having a program called the Rebuild Journey. So for women who have actually navigated divorce, we're going through that healing journey. And I remember saying to them that one of the things that you will not believe that it was after, right, when my former marriage was crashing, that was when I even knew that there was anything like red flags. Like the word red flags. Despite all of my, reading and vocabulary and all of those things, like it was not even a reality, a perception for me that there are red flags to look out for. Like, I didn't even know that, right? So I think there was just a lot of, ignorance. There was a lot of, I think for some people, it's also a lot of denial, a lot of being told, it's not that big of a deal. Even when they see, in the case of when you feel, okay, these red flags, this whatever it is, you know, it's like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I think another thing that also affects, the choices, or when people are making that choice, is also the perception of scarcity. I think that is also a big one. And it's one of the things I teach in various classes where I tell women, I tell them part of your healing is you must switch from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, because if you're going to always make choices. So that scarcity mindset then influences the decisions that some of these women make, where they know internally within themselves that this is not the best case scenario. What this person is doing is not the best, you know, that it should be. But, well, I don't know. There aren't many good men. You know, they've internalized all these things. There aren't many good men out there. Let me just settle for this. Or I don't know when another one will come. I don't know when, you know, and all of those things then play into the, not focusing on critical decisions that needs to be made. And then, of course, I think, again, for me, I know ignorance was a big part of it, like not having the right level of mentorship, counseling, the things that I thought marriage was all about was not what there's so much more, right? There is so much more. Some women think my own love is enough. Right? As you know, my own love, as long as I bring in my own, you know, whatever it is to the table, that will be enough. It will change. It will be fine. It will be this. I also realized that a lot of women, a lot of times, isn't even taking the time to know who they are. And this goes back to that thing of that training of everything is always tied to marriage, that, you know, people are taught as a child. So, but if you don't know who you are, how then do you know who you're supposed to journey with? Right? So as I've done my healing and as I've grown into such a perception of my values. Now I'm clear on what my values are, right? I didn't know that. I didn't know those were things to be thinking about, right? And so now it's like, I can't make a decision where there isn't value alignment. Those things matter, right? So certain other things that you need to look out for, you know, how do they treat their family? Like just various things that I think that people don't deeply think about.
Let me just allow you pause there, just so that we can recap some of the things you said. You mentioned a scarcity mindset, and I think that I've observed it as well. I think that it's getting very popular, especially because I don't know what the cause is, but it's a thing like you've mentioned. So how would you say people should come out of your scarcity mindset, especially when it comes to finding a spouse?
Wow. Okay. I think the first thing is one, knowing yourself, right? It's so critical coming to a place of such strong self-awareness, and such strong depth of just your identity. If you until you know who you are, until you know the value that you carry, until you know the worth, the inherent worth in you, you will always continue to just like settle for whatever it is. That's one.
Right.
So I think it's also unlearning social programmings. Told you that there are no good men. There are no whatever it is. This is limited. This is, all these other limiting things that have come as social conditioning. There is a need to unlearn it. But beyond unlearning those things, for many people, what those conditioning and those messages have done is it has also now made you become a person who think that if person A has, then that means there is nothing for me. And sometimes it's even the things we've been taught as children, competition. You see they're always putting your heads together. Is it better than you? Are you better than them? And so it makes you believe that, look, there is nothing there for you if someone else has gotten something. What is for you is for you. What is for you is for you. And I tell people at the end of the day, the ability for me to sit in an abundance mindset is closely tied to my relationship with God. It's closely tied to my understanding that, listen, there might be scarcity in the realms of men. I try not to get too spiritual. There is abundance in the realms of God. So I'm not going to live my life based on scarcity. I'm going to make choices based on the idea that, there is more than enough. There is always more than enough. And sometimes it starts with the choices that you make before you're even talking about a spouse, right? You want to, it's things as simple as you want to buy something, you want to eat something, not because you can afford to do something, but you then decide to make a choice where it's like, okay, let me do this. I don't know if there'll be enough tomorrow. Let me, you see something, you go to places, there's free stuff. Instead of taking just one, you see people 5. It's like, that is that scarcity mindset during those times. Like, let me pack 7. I don't know if there'll be anything tomorrow again. Okay. Like you have to unlearn and now begin to retrain yourself that, look, even if this particular thing is not available tomorrow, there'll be something, what I need for tomorrow will be there. It will be available.
Will it actually be there?
It will. It will. And if it is not there, then what you need, that's not what you need. That's not what you need. The question now becomes, okay, how else? What else do I need? What else? Where can I get what I need from? Like, if it is not there, then it is not yours. It is not yours. It is not yours. So, and the thing is this, as long as you're still operating in that scarcity, life a lot of times is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's almost like a loop. You say, you're operating with that scarcity mindset. Nothing will be there, all of that, and guess what will happen? Literally, when you go the next day, there will be nothing. What will happen is you will live life. There will be scarcity. You will not have what you need. And so it will not be like, I said it. There isn't enough. You continue.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes. You continue in that loop. I remember telling someone the other day, and the person was like, oh, you're so confident. I was getting close to the end of my PhD and, jobs. Some people had gotten their jobs like months before and all of that. And she's like, oh, have you heard back? Have you this? And I just told her, I said, I can never be stranded. And she looked at me and she was like, oh, that's such a bold assertion. And I said, no, it's not even just me, trying to be positive. It's a deep-seated belief. I know that I cannot be stranded. Now, where is it going to come from? I don't know yet. But because I believe that I will not be stranded, my expectation is that I will not hit that point of being stranded. And if I even get to a point where it looks like I'm being stranded, then I turn to God. I'm like, okay, that means you want to show me something that I do not know already in this place. But I will be stranded. No, I won't be stranded. So I think it's a lot of mindset work.
Right.
It's a lot of mindset work.
No, that's insightful. So when you look at your own experience and everything that led to it, I believe you've done a lot of reflection. Can you just mention 3 red flags? I know you said there was a lot of ignorance about red flags at the time, but now that you've done reflection, can you mention 3 red flags that you believe that women, I know that's a very small number to limit it to, but that you think younger women should look out for in their spouse? Because from your story, there was a lot of red flags that you didn't pay attention to in the beginning that now showed up in the marriage and all of that. So could you just mention 3 red flags that you think women should look out for?
I think the first one, and at the risk of sounding cliche, when we say God-fearing, right? But when I say God-fearing, I'm not talking about that general thing where people like to say that, I'm not talking about a churchgoer. I'm not talking about a person who speaks Christianese, or a person who is a worker, or who has a title in church. Literally, I'm talking about a person who and who you can tell that his life is lived in submission to God. It's dangerous for you to attempt to marry a person as a woman who is not truly submitted to God. Different things work for different people, right? But you're asking me about my own perspective. Listen, there are many things that will come up. There are many things that will happen, no matter how, nice or whatever it is this person. Marriage itself is inherent with a lot of challenges. And if you're not in it with someone that you know that the heart is a heart that the Holy Spirit can reach, you are in problem. You are in big soup. At the end of the day, various things happen that leads to a divorce, or infidelity, abuse, and all of these things. But see, at the root of it is what the Bible calls the hardness of heart. A person whose heart is not in a place that it's malleable, that you can see and tell that they are living their lives in sync, in alignment, in obedience to God. I don't even think there is a point to be having a discussion around whether or not this is the way to go. I think a second thing is also what I call, how do they lead their lives? How a man, the very evidence of how he will lead you is how he leads his life. And so, for me, literally, that means, how does he lead his life? How does he lead his life financially? How does he lead his life relationally? How does he lead his life, in terms of vision? How does he lead his life? How is he organized? We're not saying he needs to have all of the money at that time, that's it. But what is his vision? What is his drive? I know that I'm an ambitious woman. I know that I'm a woman who has greatness set inside of her. So it necessarily means that I'm looking at you, and while your ambition doesn't need to, be in line in terms of, I like this, you like this, we like the exact same thing. The question is, are you somebody who also has a drive and a motivation that pushes you? Right? Are you also somebody, how do you lead yourself financially? How do you spend your money? How do you save your money? How do you budget? How do you do all of these things? The degree to which a man can lead you appropriately is seen in how he leads his life. So if he's leading his life in a chaotic manner, what is his relationship with his parents? If his life is chaotic, I don't understand how, the only thing he has to offer you is that level of chaos.
Right.
There's nothing else. So you cannot arrange yourself with a person who is leading their life chaotic and expects that there will be clarity. No. And I think a third thing to also check for really is alignment in values. It's a very big thing. People change, people grow, people, whatever it is, right? But there are fundamentals that do not necessarily shift, or that when they shift when there is such a strong external force or strong situation that takes place. So what is his belief about who a wife is? What you think a wife is can be widely different from what he thinks a wife is. What his expectations or beliefs about how each partner should show up in marriage can be so widely different. Have you taken time to probe and ask, are there areas of congruence here? Are there areas of alignment? What are his values? What does he believe about, various things? Are there areas of alignment? They might not be, exact, but there's got to be some level of alignment in all of these things. So I think those are some of the things to watch out for when you're thinking about, is this somebody that I can journey through life with? There are many other things, right? In terms of red flags, you can't be with someone who is already treating you a certain way while you're in a relationship and think that, they're suddenly going to change in marriage. No.
You mentioned three profound things, and I just want to recap it. The first one, you said
his submission to God.
Yes, the fear of God.
Yes.
And you try to explain that it's beyond going to church, it's beyond being a worker in church. It's much more about submission to God. How submitted. The second, you mentioned how the man leads himself.
Yes.
As much as he's giving this advice to women, of course, it's an advice to men. How the man leads himself in all the areas of his life, because that's going to translate into how he's going to lead you eventually. And the third thing,
value alignment.
value alignment. Like you just felt like this three captures a lot of things already. Like all of the things that anybody should look out for. Value alignment, because everybody, we don't all have the same set of values. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing all that. I mean, I'm taking it to heart personally because I'm going to go and think about the way I lead my life now. Right. Just as a way to round off. So I've taken a lot of your time already. Do you still believe in love or marriage? And are you in the nearest future? Are you considering marriage again?
Do I believe in love and marriage? Yes. But I think it's different in the sense that what I think love is now is widely different. It's no more just that perception of like how I feel. The butterflies in my stomach and emotions.
I mean, it's part of it, yeah, but
it's part of it, but I'm telling you, it is many layers or many levels down when I'm thinking of what love really is now. Love is a decision. You say you love me. I want to see what's your commitment level to me. What is your
You're dropping a lot of gems, man. I wish okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, right. It's what is that litmus test? Love is patient. Love is kind, right? Love does not dishonor me. Love is love. And if I say I love someone, I don't dishonor them, right? It's not self-seeking. It's not boastful. It's not all of these things, right? So you can't, it's not unnecessary emotions. Are you ready to be committed? Is this a person that I can commit to? Is this a person that I know that we can navigate life's challenges together? Is this a person that I've seen? How do they navigate challenges? How do they what do they do? Do they shrink back? Do they cave in? So when I'm thinking of, what love is or being in love and all of those things, sometimes I feel like sometimes it has almost taken especially, when you're thinking of things like, getting married, it's almost taking, I don't want to use the word business type of view, but almost very clinical in the sense that, because at the end of the day, this is a decision that has the ability to totally alter the trajectory of your life. You cannot choose based on emotions, right? You will offend each other. You will all of these things. What do they do? How do they navigate all of that? So it's about the person's integrity and the ability to have certain commitment levels, certain things that, I know that, okay, yes, then we can now start talking about the emotions. And I say that because I found myself in situations where it's like, okay, I know there is a feeling or an attraction or whatever it is, but I also know I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to continue this, or
you put it through the litmus test,
Yes, and I'm like, nah. Yes, it's exciting and all of that and sweet, but all of these other things, they're not making sense. So it's
but how do you say you're beginning to have a business view and you're particular about a litmus test, like love is kind of all that. But how do you focus on that without at the risk of nobody's perfect? How do you focus on all of that, considering the risk of losing people, or because you have placed them in a perfection, or you have measured them against a perfect standard?
So this is not about perfection, right? Nobody's perfect. In fact, one of the things that I think must happen is you must see how they navigate the places of the downs, right? Yeah, everything can look good. Oh, they're doing what they're showing up, but there will be situations where either they offend you, things don't go well, how do they navigate that, right? First, are there people who acknowledge that, okay, what I've done is wrong, or I shouldn't have done that, or do they gaslight you? So this is not about perfection, but then those spaces of imperfection, how do they navigate it? What effort are they making? Or do they tell you, that's who I am, and this is for men and women alike. That's who I am. That's just how it is. Or, oh, you're just too sensitive. That never happened. Or that's not a big deal. Or you can see that, okay, oh, I acknowledge that is, That is wrong, or that is not what it should be, you know. And you can see that they are making effort, right, for the sake of that relationship, knowing fully well that I would rather put the success, right, of the relationship, right, over and above my own ego, my own wanting to be right, my own wanting to be this. So, in fact, if anything, it is all these litmus tests that I'm talking about. It is in those places actually of imperfections that you can actually see those things. So it's not about saying they must be perfect, they never do anything wrong, they are all of this. No, it is in those spaces actually when they are angry. How do they navigate those things? Those are actually the places where you want to now begin to, that's where you want to actually do the check. So it means that automatically you know that no one is perfect. It's just seeing how they respond in those places.
Wow, interesting. Great. And let me just add a little contribution to that. For me, one of the things that help me navigate relationships generally is I think about if the person is teachable, because I know nobody's perfect. And so if I see, is an area of improvement.
Exactly.
Are you showing a willingness to improve on this, or are you actually going to improve on this? And if not, then it becomes a deal breaker. You know, I think it's something that will be useful to a lot of people as well.
Exactly.
Final words. And so you didn't answer my question directly, but I like the way you answered it though. If you were open to,
yes, oh definitely, yes, I am.
I'm looking out for my sister. See, I don't know, should I put it out there?
What did you say? Yes, I am, definitely.
Well, that's great. I mean, just watching this video alone would help any man to know if they are qualified to enter a DM or not.
I think that, just to add there, I think that marriage is still one of the most powerful things that God created. And I think that is part of the reasons why a wrong choice has such an ability to powerfully impact you, negatively. I still believe that it is one of the forces that plays out, or that has the capacity to so empower a person in terms of life and destiny. I believe that, we're not created to do life alone, and marriage is one of the places of such deep companionship that people can get into and live from a place of such strong agreement, right? I fully believe in that idea of one chasing 1,000 and two chasing 10,000. But that means that, right, it cannot be a parasitic relationship, and that's the problem, right? It has to be I think that's called symbiotic, right? That they what synergistic effect. So I believe it's a powerful force, a tool for God to raise the kind of families he wants, to deploy people, to deploy children, and raise them, with a sense of that kingdom agenda. So I believe it's holy. I believe it's a holy place. It's a place where God even does the work to conform people deeper into the image of Christ. So I believe it's such a powerful institution, and that God's desire, I mean, there are some people that God has called to singleness, right? But I think it's definitely something it's a wonderful addition to a...
It's definitely not me. I just need to put it out there too. I'm not called to singleness, and I don't have many girls in my DM. Like, that was just, and all of that. So
yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do you feel you need to share any final words or just something for women out there?
I'm done.
All right. Thanks once again. I hope everyone enjoys this episode and learns one or two things, and please share with somebody you think is going to find it very useful. See you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.